Jeff Rowe from Two Hacks Garage. Well, I'm back up Kyle's Hack Shack, and if you see here, yep, the Big Bad GTO, it sure as heck doesn't have an engine in it. It's currently sitting over on engine stand back there, and many of you guys were asking, why are you pulling that engine out? It ran really good, wasn't that old? Well, the answer was simple. We want a whole lot more horsepower. While this thing was set up with forged internals, had the great Holley sniper system on it, and really had those awesome Kaufman heads and everything on it, and really laid down some good numbers. I ran 1140s without a problem all day long. Kyle wasn't even rolling the coals to it. We decided, you know what, we want to up the game with this GTO. Kyle likes horsepower. He likes going fast. I like working on stuff. I like tuning. It's also winter time. So you know what, this is going to be one heck of a project. We have plans to put a supercharger on this, a new Holley Sniper EFI kit that is going to add more air and fuel to this combo, which we're going to need. Probably going to change the camshaft up a bit, do a little bit of head work, and you know what, guys, we're going to need to inspect this engine. So this video here is we're going to continue tearing this engine down. We're going to look it over, see if there's any problems with it, see what we need to come up against, and we're going to show you what it looks like when we get it all teared down, what we're up against, and kind of where we need to go from there. But with that, guys, I'm going to go over and show you where we're at now so you can kind of get a better idea of what we got to do. See you in a few. All right, well, in the last video, we went ahead and really got a little bit more aggressive than we thought. All we wanted to do then was get the engine yanked out, but as you can see here, the cylinder heads are off of it. We got the oiling system off. We got the camshaft out, all that fun jazz. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the rods and pistons, take the crank out, and we're going to do a little bit of inspection on the cam bearings, the main bearings, the rod bearings, look at the cylinder walls, look at the pistons, just to see kind of, you know, what kind of wearing this thing had. Like I said, this thing really didn't have many miles on it, you know, probably 3 or 4 years. Some of them hard miles, but you know what? That's all fun and games and, you know, the jazz. You got to make power. You got to play with power. So that's what we're going to do. We do have a ton of parts over here. We need to inspect the cylinder heads, see how those are doing. And we really need to get stuff organized here. As you can see, we got ourselves kind of a mess. But you know what? We're going to get all this organized. With that, guys, we need to get to work. All right, let's take a look at a couple things here that we noticed. First off, this is number one here. If you take a look, it has some really, really bad bearing wear in there. It's down into the copper. That's no bueno. We also noticed on these two, it does have a little bit of piston skirt wear on all of them, but not bad. But as you can see, these bearings were starting to, some of them aren't as bad as others, but they were starting to fail. That one there is also down to the copper. That one's into the copper. That one's not bad. That one's not bad. But the one thing is, when right before Kyle parked the car, he had a low oil pressure situation that went on. Changed the gauge, but man, something just didn't seem right, and that's what kind of prompted us to tear this down quicker. But as you can see, definitely we had some premature bearing wear. Let's go check out the mains. All right, well, here's the mains. So this would be number one right here. As you can see, same thing, some funky bearing wear going on in there. This would be number 1, 2, 3. This would be 4 with thrust bearing. You can see some odd premature wear on there. And this would be number 2. Same thing. Lots of funky bearing wear on there. And same thing with this one here. So obviously there was a little bit of an oiling issue. This thing was using, Kyle, was that a Mellings pump or a factory pump?
Which I believe the factory pump was a Mellings pump.
Okay, yep, factory Mellings pump. Obviously something happened to it. Oh, these are nice billet main caps too. Those are really nice. We're going to save those. But if you look at this one too, it also has some funky wear. You can definitely feel it. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to go check out the cylinders. But yeah, we're not finding what we were hoping to find, but you know what? It is what it is. And the crank actually looked fine, which is insane to think about seeing these bearings. But what we're going to do is be replacing the crank anyway. So let's go check out the cylinders. All right, so what we're going to do is look at the cam bearings real quick. You can see that one's not bad. That's front of the block. Second one, it is bad. That's got a groove, which is not supposed to be there, worn into it. That cam bearing, it's not terrible, but it's got some uneven wear. And then when we get back there, kind of the same thing, a little bit of funky wear. So obviously something happening with the oiling. If you look at the cylinders, we got skirt wear you can see in there. Nothing, you can still see there's no ridge. There's still cross hatching, but on all these cylinders, top and bottom, you can see skirt wear throughout those. And that correlates with what we saw on the pistons itself. So yeah, a little bit of wear in some funky places. We're going to take some measurements on the actual cylinders. I brought my dial bore gauge. We need to do some fine precision measuring to see, make sure these things aren't like egg-shaped or oblong. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and check that out and do a little bit more inspection and go from there. All right, one thing we did find out something interesting. So this is your main that's where on the back of the block where it oils. If you look here, it's where the rear main seal goes in. Well, if you look, it looks like it's got some epoxy or something. Here's the seal that Kyle pulled out. And this feels like almost like an epoxy on there. Now, mind you, we didn't build the short block on this. We did the rest years back. But obviously there's something funky going on with that. They were, that sat down in there like that, and which is kind of odd. Not really quite sure what they were doing. If you're a Pontiac person, you know what that is, leave a comment, let us know why they would have done that. The other part is it's the same thing on the actual engine block back here. You can see it's got the same stuff in there. Not sure why that is like that, but like I said, if you know what that is for, let us know because we're kind of curious. Real quick, just to kind of show you something here. Here's the camshaft. You saw the bearings, how they had some kind of premature wear on them. The cam itself, which is a roller cam, is absolutely fine. And you saw the main bearings and you saw the rod bearings. Well, here's what's crazy about that. If you go over and look at the crankshaft, I haven't mic'd it or anything like that, just kind of doing pre-inspection. The actual crank is good, but them bearings were absolutely trashed. So not really quite sure what is going on with that. This is where that number 1 sat. It's got a little bit of groove on it, but nothing bad compared to how that bearing looked. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. We're going to go check out some more things, and we'll catch up in a few. All right, Kyle's scraping some stuff off here, but after a little bit of further inspection on some of this, it was starting to show some signs of the head gaskets starting to go. And what the weird part about it is where this was going on each side, and we saw it on the cylinder heads too, is in direct correlation with the bearings that were absolutely trashed. So we're wondering if this thing started getting a little bit of a coolant leak, getting water down in there, got into those bearings somehow and just wiped everything out, or it might have had a little bit of metal or something got in there. But we never found any metal in the oil, which we did check. We've never seen anything metal in the oil, but we're not 100% sure what's that happened. Like I said, this is just a quick tear down, initial inspection. We're going to take some time, do a lot more measuring, check some more things out, but so far, nothing terrible considering, we're going to replace pretty much everything. We're not going to replace the heads, but you can see it there, and you can see it right in there. Combustion chambers don't look bad. That one's a little bit wider than normal. Some of these are, but what we got to do is we got to do our homework. We are going to reuse cylinder heads. We're going to reuse the rods. We'll end up using the pistons. However, it looks like we're probably having them coated. We know we're going to have to get this block honed. We don't know about surfacing yet on some things. We got to measure and check all that. So that's our initial video on teardown. It is, Christmas time and all that. Kyle's going to be going to the lovely state of California to visit some family and have some much needed off time.
Yes.
So he's going to go see some family, see all the cool stuff while the rest of us freeze. But with that, this thing needs to get cleaned. We got to inspect. Kyle, enjoy your time off, man.
Will do.
Later.
Talk soon.